Good afternoon, everyone. It is Andy Deyell, your Vice President for Institutional Advancement here at Canisius High School, back with another episode of Conversations with Canisius, our regular web series where we check in with our guests all over the United States, see what they've been up to since their time here at Canisius High School, and check in on their plans. I'm joined today all the way from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, by Craig Zakrzewski from the class of 1996. Craig, how are you today?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Craig is currently the Senior Associate Athletic Director at Wake Forest University, where he's in charge of capital projects and operations. And Craig, let's begin with this. Tell me a little bit about that role. It's a mouthful, but knowing a little bit about you, having visited the school and seeing what you've been building there in the last few years, tell me just a little bit about what it is that you do, and then we'll go back in time and sort of figure out how you got there.
Yeah, no, sounds good. And class of '96 makes me sound old. So thanks for bringing that up, Andy.
I'm
Appreciate
class of
that.
91, so
Um, but yeah, my current role, as Andy mentioned, Senior Associate Athletic Director for Capital Projects and Operations at Wake Forest. Been at Wake Forest for 22 years, and in my current role for about 6 or 7 years. So again, that is a mouthful. I kind of got a hodgepodge of responsibilities. But primarily, as Andy mentioned, I handle all of our capital projects. So any new facility build, any facility renovation, any type of project that we're doing, on the athletic side particularly, I'm kind of involved from start to finish. So even just from someone's idea of, hey, we need to build this or consider building this, taking that all the way through design, construction, and then completion. So kind of being that point of contact for the athletic department. So that's kind of primary area number one. Number two, on the operations side, I oversee our event and facility operations group. So this is the team that we have here that puts on all of our events. So again, like thinking through like metal detection and stadium entry and making sure that all of our football games, basketball games, baseball games, soccer matches, that everything runs smoothly on the event side. That kind of rolls up under my umbrella. Also oversee our equipment services group. So again, managing relationship we have with Nike as our primary kind of school apparel partner. So kind of overseeing and working with that group, and then also our ACC network, multimedia and IT group. So again, I'm fortunate at Wake Forest that we're part of the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. We have the ACC network, and it's our team's charge to broadcast as many of our events as we can, either on that network or on ESPN. So that group funnels up through me as well. And then on the sports side, I'm the sport administrator, kind of the supervisor for our women's soccer program, who this year had an awesome season, made it all the way to the national championship game, which was an awesome experience and kind of run that they went on. And then also for our baseball program as well. So baseball gets started here in 2 weeks. Again, that I think we're preseason number 14 this year. We were preseason number one last year, and then 2 years prior we went to Omaha for the College World Series. So a lot of different responsibilities, but again, there's no place I'd rather do it than at Wake Forest. This is a place I care deeply about, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, it's been a lot of responsibility, but something that I wear with pride.
great. Yeah. Let's start building sort of the history there. Like let's take me back. If you're a class of 96, that means in 92 you're looking for a place to go to high school. What makes you decide to go to Canisius High School? And while you were at Canisius, who are some of your influences while you were there as far as faculty members or coaches?
Yeah. So grew up in North Buffalo, and so kind of like sandwiched right in the middle of Canisius and another school on Kenmore Ave. And all of my went to St. Margaret's Elementary, so Catholic school upbringing, and obviously went to open houses at Canisius. We played basketball in a lot of elementary school games at Canisius. I went to HAP the summer between my seventh and eighth grade year, and Canisius just felt like home, and there was never really a question when the time came of where I was going to go. Some people from my elementary school ended up going to Canisius. Others went kind of all spread out around the city. So kind of came into Canisius knowing a few people, but not any of my closest friends that were there. So kind of had to find my own way and my own path at Canisius, which was the best thing, really the best thing for me. Um, Staff and teachers and administration at Canisius who stood out in my life. Obviously, my first homeroom teacher that day one was Mr. Durkin. So he was, a wonderful man and kind of was my intro into life at Canisius, which was great. Again, I think of my professors like, Mr. Crum, Mrs. Barnes, Miss Kessler, Father Garaventa, Father Higgins, Mr. Skipper, Mr. Gemmer, just again a bunch of people who kind of impacted me over the years. Mr. Keenan, who was obviously our basketball coach as well as our dean of students for my portion of my time there. So all those people significantly impacted my experience and kind of who I am today, but none more so than Father C. So grew up and raised by a single mother. Came to Canisius, kind of in need at that time of my life of a father figure, and for some reason somehow like made a connection with Father C. Kind of took me under his wing at the time and really just kind of looked out for me in my 4 years at Canisius and kind of has been doing so ever since. So Father C has become a mentor to me, a father figure to me, someone who, we still stay in contact very frequently. He married my wife and I. He baptized both of my children. So, like the relationship that I've been fortunate enough to establish with Father C, all because I went to Canisius, many moons ago, is something that I hold very dear and is very precious to me. And again, his friendship, his partnership, his mentorship, the kind of the love that he has shown me over the years is something that, again, I never would have expected walking into Canisius the fall of 1992. But here we are, X number of years later, and still kind of have that relationship that my life would not be the same without the impact that someone like Father C has made on my life.
That's a great story. And we'll move on to sort of your college experience and your college experience. As as you said earlier, you've been at Wake Forest almost since you were a student there, many moons ago. But your arrival at Wake Forest is what's interesting to me, because I know it sort of came out of a disappointment. And as we get older, we get to be our age, you learn that sometimes if you let some of your disappointments in life breathe a little bit, they end up becoming extremely important, formative events in your life. And they ended up, at the time, what seems to be a big disappointment ends up becoming one of the biggest and best things that's ever happened to you. So tell me a little bit, Craig, tell our viewers a little bit about how Wake Forest came to be your school.
Yeah. So when I was applying to schools, my senior year, we had the common application, and Wake Forest was essentially just a box I checked because at the time their basketball program was doing really well. They had Tim Duncan and Randolph Childress playing in an ACC championship, so I knew the name. Sean Pierce, who was a couple years ahead of me at Canisius, I knew that he had gone there and kind of knew Sean when we were at Canisius together. So again, I just really just checked the box for Wake Forest. Didn't really think anything of it as part of the Common App. Sure, why not? Let's kind of throw it out there. My heart throughout my senior year, or what I thought was my heart, was set on going to Georgetown, and that's where I wanted to go. We visited there multiple times, and I just felt, that again, whether it was the Jesuit education or whatever it was, like I wanted to be in DC. I wanted to be at Georgetown. I was very confident in myself that that's where my life was going to take me. And then obviously that spring of my senior year got the letter that I didn't get admitted. And so yeah, super disappointed initially, right? Like again, at that age, you just think like, how could they not want someone like me, And you're like, I need to be there. So then kind of scrambled a bit to kind of figure out, hey, where am I going to go now, right? I'd gotten fortunate to get up a bunch of other good schools, was considering going to Loyola in Baltimore. And my mom and I went to go visit Loyola. And while we were there, we're like, we're never going to be closer to Wake Forest than we are because we're in Maryland. So if we want to go see it, if you ever want to go visit it, like now's the time. Let's get in the car. We'll drive from Baltimore and go to Winston-Salem. So we did. So we drove over there, and as corny as it sounds, right? I think it was like in April evening, we pull into Winston-Salem and pull into campus. And again, Andy, you've been fortunate to see it. But April in Winston-Salem, we roll the windows of our car down, you smell the magnolia trees, you pull on campus, it's like 70 degrees, and it's just like, oh, this place feels great. And it really did just kind of hit me that this place, felt like home and where I needed to be. So we spent the next day, we met with Sean. He gave us a tour of everything, and again, I just left there knowing that that felt like where I needed to be. and everything kind of worked out. Everything worked out getting in and getting down here, and as you mentioned, kind of haven't left. Graduated from Wake in 2000. I spent 2 years with M&T Bank, 1 year in Buffalo, 1 year in Philadelphia, and then kind of had the chance to come back to Wake Forest in 2002 within athletics, and jumped at the chance to come back. And Wake Forest has been home to me. I met my wife at Wake Forest, so it was an easy sell to kind of bring her back down south, since we're both from up north. But yeah, so as you mentioned, you're one of my biggest disappointments at that part of my life turned into something. Here I am, 25 years later, and like, I wouldn't have changed anything. Everything kind of works out for a reason, for sure.
And you built sort of your career from the ground up, right? Like I'm not sure that position existed before you took it, your current position, in charge of some of the things that you're doing. And I think so. Tell our viewers a little bit about, like, you started out very simply there, helping out with a basketball team, and sort of you paid attention, you listened, right? You asked, what else could I do? And before you know it, you're the senior athletic director. And I know I just fast forwarded like 20 some years, but just talk a little bit about sort of how you built your career there. But also reflecting on how maybe some of the lessons you learned at Canisius helped you get where you were going.
Yeah. So a little bit of backstory. So when I was a student at Wake Forest, I wanted to be involved. Again, we get so highly involved kind of in high school, doing all different things. And I got here in my first semester, just didn't feel as connected, to the school as I needed to be. So I actually at the time wrote a handwritten letter back in the day and sent that to Coach Odom, who was the basketball coach at the time at Wake Forest, and saying, I played basketball at Canisius and wasn't good enough to play, obviously D1, but, just miss being part of a team. I'd do anything, I'd wipe up sweat, I'd give out water, whatever you need me to do. I just want to be a part of the program. And, he called me in and met with me my freshman year and said, you prove yourself doing other things, and then maybe we'll have a spot for you your sophomore year. So, my freshman year, I worked with the football program. I did some other stuff within equipment. And then by the time I was a sophomore, got offered a job with the basketball program, worked as a student manager for the rest of my time at Wake. And really, those years as a student manager really laid the groundwork for my career now. Again, there was never a task that I wouldn't be willing to do if it was for the betterment of the team. And then again, a lot of the relationships that I made at that time paid dividends, when I came back to Wake Forest kind of 2 years after graduation. Had I not been in that role as a student, there's no way I would have been offered the job, kind of 2 years later. And then, as you mentioned, kind of working my way up. When I came back to Wake, I came back as an equipment manager. I handle the equipment as a full-time employee now for our basketball programs and our soccer programs. But after doing that for so many years, again, awesome experience, worked with a ton of great coaches, a ton of great student athletes, got to know a ton of people, traveled, got to go to, played in Cameron Indoor, played in the Dean Dome, played in Maui for the Maui Invitational. So again, an awesome experience. But just kind of I didn't feel like I was challenging myself enough or pushing myself enough to do more. So kind of found my path and said, hey, can I help people who are in senior associate roles? Can I help you do this? Or how can I be of assistance? And they kind of gave me the freedom to say, as long as you're not, sacrificing, your current responsibilities, you can help in these areas. So just kind of kept doing that, kind of plugging away, and then kind of got out of equipment, got more into the administration side, and the same kind of thing. Just kind of the way that I operate, if people ask me to do something, I'll take it, own it, and kind of do the best I can with it. So, over the past, probably 8 to 10 years when I've kind of been in the administration side, I oversaw our housing department, did pretty good with that. So now it's like, okay, he can do that. What else can he do? I oversaw like during COVID, I oversaw like our whole COVID testing unit. So again, I think people have just been able to see that I'm a trusted partner who can take something that maybe he might not know, that much about, but he'll dive in, do the hard work, and kind of make it better. So it's kind of been, yeah, I say I've had a unique kind of career trajectory, kind of more so than most. Super fortunate again that I can do it at Wake Forest. Like I really don't want to do my job at another university as an alum. I care deeply about Wake Forest. And again, I think a lot of that to your question stem back from my time at Canisius. Again, the kind of the values and lessons that instilled that place instilled in me. I think I paved the way for my career success. And I think when thinking about, Canisius and kind of what maybe what it was, I think back to like that was the first time in my life that you have like this healthy dose of competition because you're around other, young, talented, driven young men who really I wanted to compete with them and they pushed me to be the best version of myself that I can be, right? Certainly athletically they did. Certainly academically, like again, I would think back to my time at Canisius, like I wanted to know what did Chris Martin, what did Jeff Mishnikowski get on that test? Because I know whatever they got, I needed to get to that level if I wanted to do well academically. Like, so the standard that my classmates set and what I strive to be towards, like again, that healthy level of competition, that there's just that push that being around other successful people kind of instilled in me has kind of, I think, carried over to kind of how I operate and kind of kind of run my career at this point in my life.
Great. And so how long have you been the senior associate AD?
So senior associate AD, I've been in that role for 3 years. Prior to that, associate AD. Prior to that, assistant AD. So
Yeah.
again, probably 8 to 10 years, like on the administration side. And again, super fortunate I've been able to kind of find my path and work my way to where I am currently.
And I get a strong sense that you really love what you do. I mean, the fact that you get to sort of create and build and see what you've built and what you put all your time and effort into, I imagine that has to be super fulfilling for you.
Yeah, no, it is. And like I said earlier, I think, what's great about my role is I have different responsibilities that also kind of like check all the boxes on kind of what make me enjoy my career, right? Like again, on the project side, if taking someone's just like again a concept or an idea and seeing that idea grow from just something that we're spitballing, talking about to, okay, let's see that in on paper, let's see that, in a 3D design. Let's see that come up out of the ground. Let's see people now live in those spaces. Like to see the kind of the full arc of a project is really special. And again, like what makes that special for me is you spend all these hours and all the kind of ups and downs of kind of a project, and then you see the 5 minutes of when we open the doors for the first time to student athletes, and you see their faces when they get to experience something like that for the first time, and the investment that has gone into kind of that experience for them. So like you put in all these hours and years of work for like that 5 minute payoff, which is awesome. And then again, like working with the programs I work with, like with the baseball program and women's soccer programs, like being really ingrained, and I want to ingrain myself in those teams so that those athletes get to know who I am. They see me, they know my family, they know my children because we're around and we're supporting them. And then to see, to be a real small part of like their success, again, is super, super special and a unique part of my job. And then the last thing I'd say is just again, like been fortunate to be able to manage and lead a group, different groups of people now. And again, not having that experience kind of coming up, but kind of learning on the fly, has been interesting. But again, something I take good pride in, like getting to know, the people that I work with. They don't, they don't work for me, they work with me, and I work with them. So getting to know them, getting to know who they are, kind of what drives them, so that way, kind of as our team goes through our daily responsibilities, that they know that I'm in the throes of it just with them, and I'm not asking them to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself.
Well, you started to veer into exactly what I wanted to talk about next, and that is some advice. If you looking back over your career, what are two or three pieces of advice that you would offer to our students, our young alums who are just starting to sort of make their way into their careers? What could you share with them that's really helped sustain you in your career?
Yeah, so a few things, Andy. I think one is like what helped me through college and into my career is like realizing the advantage that Canisius provided me. Like I went to Wake Forest and I felt that I was kind of a step ahead or better prepared to succeed academically, socially, athletically because of the experience I had at Canisius. So like appreciating and acknowledging that and realizing kind of the special environment that all, kind of all those young men are in at Canisius. Like again, that's helped me certainly throughout my career. One thing that's kind of one of my core values is I like to think like I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, right? There's a lot of things that I've been asked to do or that I do in my job where, again, it's kind of uncomfortable to me, but how can I find comfort in those situations? And again, I think I've gotten better over the course of my career doing that and realizing, understanding that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay not to have the answer right away, but how can I be successful in those moments? And then a couple more things. Again, I think about my time at Canisius. I think about, again, like every morning still to this day, like I ask, to help me be a man for others, right? And like you walk through those doors and that's like you see that, in the hallway every day. And that stays with me, again, like 30 years later, right? Like that's who I want to be as a person. I want to be that man for others that was again instilled within me, 30 years ago. And the last thing that kind of I think helps me, and I would offer advice to people like Canisius now is, I worked for several years at Wake when I was early in my career with Coach Skip Prosser. He was the basketball coach at Wake Forest, kind of in the early 2000s, passed away suddenly and tragically back in 2007. And one of his hallmarks was never delay gratitude, and that has really just stuck with me. And that's a lesson that I try to teach my children, that I try to teach, kind of the people that I work alongside, is like that's something that we should be always thinking, like never delay the opportunity to tell someone thank you, or never delay gratitude. And again, that life lesson that I learned from him is something that I try to again instill kind of in my daily actions.
I mean, that's all great advice, Craig. Thank you so much for sharing that. And let's turn our attention a little bit to the future here. I know you got a lot of juice left in the tank and you're going to be working a while. What are some of your future goals, not only personally, but for your career? What are you thinking about where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I still want to be at Wake Forest, Andy, right? I mean, again, like I mentioned, this place is home to me. Like I don't see myself like, chasing jobs elsewhere, right? Like I said, I want to make an impact here. And again, I've been super fortunate to do that. I'm part of our executive leadership team. So there's 7 of us who kind of, lead the department. So, being at the table, being in that group, is something that I don't take for granted. And again, like how do I, again, like there's like no other like really rung to get to here at Wake. Like there's no, yes, my title could change or my responsibilities could change. And again, I'm certainly open to that, but it's not like I'm not chasing anything at this point. Like I just want to be the best version of myself that I can be daily, for my own personal, satisfaction, as well as, the benefit of Wake Forest. So professionally, I still want to be at Wake Forest. I still want to be, making an impact in whatever that looks like 10 years from now. But again, I consider myself a grinder, right? I work hard. I would say work-life balance is probably not one of my strengths, which is tough at time for my family to hear. But again, they appreciate as well. So again, spending more time with my wife. We're a couple years away from being empty nesters, as crazy as that sounds. I have a son who's a sophomore at Wake now, which is awesome to be around and see him kind of experience Wake Forest, through his eyes has been special. And then we have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school, who's a soccer player. So her season kicks off next week. So again, we'll be at a lot of soccer matches over the coming years, as we support her love and growth in the game. So again, nothing too crazy, Andy. Again, I just want to kind of work hard and try to enjoy the life that I have, which is, again, I'm super blessed, and yeah, so can't complain.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today and sharing with us a little bit about your journey. I think you've given us a lot to think about and a lot of great advice for our young alums and for the kids here at Canisius High School. So I look forward to seeing you either in North Carolina on my visits or back here for whenever any of our alumni events. But thank you again for spending the time with us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, Craig. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Andy. Appreciate it.
All right, see you soon.